Well, well, well. The creation catalyst has received a change in Dragonflight. Okay, so let's talk about some information that is hot off the presses in regards to the creation catalyst in Dragonflight. So for those who don't know, the creation catalyst is the thing that allows you to catalyze pieces of gear and create tier pieces. So basically how you do it is you would have like that season's worth of gear, you would drop it in the creation catalyst, and it would consume a charge to be able to convert that piece of gear into a tier piece. Now, there have been some changes, data mined. We don't have any blue posts in regards to what this is going to mean for the future, so we can talk about some speculative stuff, but let's talk about what we do have that's data mined changing. So basically, what it looks like here is that now the creation catalyst is looking to be account wide, and you complete group activities to earn charges across all characters, and then you have a maximum of 6 charges per character. So this is actually super interesting, and it says on Wowhead here, this seems to indicate that completing these activities on your main, you'll start to bank charges for your alts. While it's unclear except what group activities means, it's possible that it can be something like clearing a raid or completing a row in the Great Vault. However, this does seem to be a cap of 6 charges per character, so at some point you want to use them before you lose them. All right, let's talk about what this means. So first and foremost, I do think that account-wide charges for the creation catalyst and being able to use this is actually pretty solid. I think that overall, this is actually a pretty decent system and a nice way for you to be able to bank up charges from your main and then be able to transfer those to alternative characters. I think that's good. I think the limit of 6 per character, maybe 8 would be the right number, since it's like 2 sets, like you want like 4 pieces of gear, maybe 8 would be the right number. That's also, I think, fine. Completing group activities to earn charges across all characters. I think that what was written here, when what Squishy said is clear a row in the Great Vault, and that would give you 1 charge, would be interesting. We were talking about it. I was talking about it with Dratnus a little bit, and I was like, oh, it could be actually pretty interesting if it's like the last boss of the raid gave you 1 charge, or like complete 4 dungeons or something, just like the weekly dungeon quest. That kind of thing would give you additional charges on your character. I think that would actually be super interesting. Alternatively, it's one of those situations where Blizzard's going to have to add some level of parity in regards to how many charges you get. So it's not going to be like, you're not going to get 1 charge back per dungeon you do, likely. And you're not going to get 1 charge back per raid boss you kill, which is pretty likely. In the same sense, though, that's kind of difficult whenever you kind of have to think about it in regards to progression rating, because you're there to progress bosses. You're not necessarily always doing farm. You extend your lockout sometimes. And so what's going to happen with being able to get charges on your Great Vault in that regard? Although you can go and do dungeons and stuff like that to be able to gain charges back, I wonder, like, there can be a decent amount of ways that the situation does improve the average player experience. Although at the same point, I could see there's a couple of situations where this could be kind of annoying. The other kind of annoyance that I see with this kind of thing is the situation where I don't know how many other people did this, but I kind of just like slam catalyzed a bunch of low item level gear because I knew I was going to have enough charges of the catalyst. And so on like alt characters, I would just like slam catalyze 246 item level gear or 265 pieces of gear. And then whenever I got better loot, then I would recatalyze them. And in a lot of situations, I would get better loot that week, right? Because if I'm playing a character, I'm going to start playing it a decent amount. And so I'm going to be able to like power gear it through M+, but I really want like a starting point where I have my tier set. And so that's a situation where I could see it being kind of weird, where if you only have 6 charges, you're not going to want to catalyze a bunch of useless gear, especially if you're worried about the ability to be able to get a bunch of charges back. And so I think that could cause some problems, at least in some levels, but I think that is actually a relatively low amount of friction overall. I think that the account-wide variable of this and being able to earn charges across all characters should generally kind of make up for this. I think there is a downside if you're playing like a lot of characters, that 6 charges may not be enough. So say you're playing something like 10 characters actively or something ridiculous, obviously, but like, I think that there could be a situation where then it starts to get into kind of annoying territory. But in general, if you're playing, I think the average player probably plays like 2 or 3 characters. I don't think that you should kind of run into this issue if you're playing a pretty reasonable amount of characters. I do think, though, that this is actually a decent change. We have heard that the catalyst was going to be opening on the same cadence as it did in Sepulchre. That was confirmed in a blue post. Now they may change this. They can come back and be like, oh, oopsie daisies. This was a mistake. We're actually going to be changing this. Although they did say that it is going to be coming out with the same cadence as it did in Sepulchre. And I think that this actual change is really interesting for the Creation Catalyst. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. Overall, I'm pretty positive on this. I think that this is like I don't want to say this is like a home run change, because there are still a couple of downsides to this, like I talked about. But at the same point, they continue to push the Creation Catalyst to a spot where it's not going to be so intrusive for alts. There's not going to be a massive currency backlog that you have to farm. There are some things that you're going to have to do to make sure that your alts are able to gear up in a reasonable amount of time. But at the same point, like there should be at least some friction, but they're continuing to lower the amount of friction. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. Are you excited for these catalyst changes? Is there maybe an angle that I didn't think of that's like super problematic with the catalyst change? I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.